crashes.
We hate to be in them, but we love to watch them.
Some of us more than others.
That's true. In 2019, there were over 12.15 million car crashes in America.
In this video, we're gonna go over 5 of those 12.15 million car crashes.
We're basically gonna give hindsight legal tips that are null and void at this point.
What we are gonna do is fasten our seatbelts, because we're in for a rough ride.
I just kind of looked up and I saw, oh, hey, there's a bus. Oh, hey, there's a bus. I have a camera in here somewhere.
His video does confirm he had a green light for a full 4 seconds before impact.
I mean, 4 seconds of green light. I mean, if you can't go through an intersection after 4 seconds, then when are you going to be able to go through that intersection?
Based off what we're seeing so far, it's clearly the bus driver's fault here, but let's keep watching and see what we have only is one angle.
Police initially cleared Conoy, but the investigator changed his mind, concluding in the traffic collision report, Conoy was at fault. I determined that the VTA bus was legally in the intersection when the collision occurred. Conoy did not yield the right-of-way to traffic legally in the intersection.
I imagine that the biggest question that the audience might have is how can someone legally be in an intersection if cross traffic has the green light?
Yes.
The question though is whether or not this bus really was lawfully in the intersection.
What's shocking to me is that even with this dash cam, he still got told he was liable, and it only happened later. It's very weird, you know, to me too, when I hear these facts, that the police officer first says you're not at fault, and then all of a sudden comes back later, probably after they got some phone call from someone. You know, I don't want to say it happened that way, but I'm gonna say it happened that way.
The officer says that the POV car has to make sure that the coast is clear, but the POV car really couldn't even see the coast until approximately 2 to 3 seconds after the light had turned green. It doesn't matter how hard you brake, it becomes impossible to avoid.
I mean, if you...
We see it time and time again. Police officers, police departments, even insurance companies get it wrong.
And people don't like to admit fault, you know?
100%.
Like Ugo drank my soda earlier and he still won't admit for it.
Yeah, but he gave it to me, and that's what people don't understand. Before we jump to any conclusion, let's go ahead and just watch the same car crash from the vantage point of
the bus.
He stopped at the intersection. 2 cars pull away. Before he even hits that limit line, the light turns yellow. I counted. The bus had more than 40 feet to hit the brakes and stop, but it continues through.
I would even argue that the bus is not even past the limit line.
I mean, they weren't.
I mean, come on, 40 feet. 40 feet from the line that separates the intersection, that is plenty of time, even for a bus. The officer, respectfully in this case, is just simply incorrect. The bus was not past the limit line. The bus had a duty to yield at that yellow light and come to a stop. The bus did not do it, and their failure to yield resulted in a collision. Oh. That's my worst fear, because that can happen at any time while you're driving, no matter what. All of a sudden something can come out of nowhere and ruin your day.
I mean, I've seen like plastic bags. I'm trying to get all over the place. I'm like, I don't want that plastic bag to hit my car. Ugo, have you ever had anything hit your windshield like that?
Mike, do not wish this upon me.
I did not say that.
But
you're putting words in my mouth.
I feel like you're putting it out there. You know what? The universe is powerful.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I haven't, and hopefully that never will happen.
But if it does happen, call me.
I don't know, you look like a lawyer that wants a job. That's what you... Be very, very, very careful to not cause another accident when this single car incident has occurred. If you swerve into another car, you would actually be deemed the negligent party, because you are supposed to maintain control of your vehicle at all times. Even if something comes from nowhere, shatters your windshield, obscures your entire vision, the law still says you need to maintain control of your vehicle. What do you think about in terms of who's liable?
I would say no one's liable on this one. Unfortunately, you can't really put the blame on the driver in front. If this was a situation where something was secured to like a pickup truck or something came flying out of the actual car in front of this driver, then you have an argument to say that that driver in front was negligent. When it's something's just on the ground that gets kicked up, I don't think you can hold anyone liable on this one.
So moral of the story?
Don't drive cars.
That's actually a great solution, especially in LA. You never know what's gonna happen.
Dude, actually, it's very scary out here in LA.
To be honest with you, I stay home most of the time. My car is 2 years old. It has 5,000 miles on it. Yeah, it's true. I don't go anywhere.
Wow. Well, why are you here? How'd you get here?
Mike forced me to come, ladies and gentlemen. If I'm blinking twice, you know why. I'm in danger.
It's not true.
Oh, a tire.
Oh, tire flew off.
Lost a tire in that one.
Dang.
Oh no. Obviously that red car was being impatient and went to the opposite side of the street in order to pass the black car, which was being kind enough to wait for this Tesla to pull out. But ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, that maneuver of going to the other side of the street to pass that car that had stopped was a legal maneuver. And because it was a legal maneuver, it means that that red car still had the right of way.
I have to agree with you on that, Ugo. Everyone's been in that position, right? Where you're inching slowly, just hoping that you're catching enough of through your side mirrors to know if someone's coming.
I agree with you. And the Tesla lost a tire, so it's totals.
Yeah. Well, you know, one less Tesla on the road.
I have a Tesla.
Oops. I didn't mean it like that.
They say that like whenever these Teslas are involved in accidents, because they're so expensive to fix, there's like this joke that like one little scratch and it's like, oh, the car's totaled.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. My experience, I think Teslas are like the most obnoxious drivers on the road that I've experienced. I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying they...
What? What are you talking about?
I've just had a lot of them cut me off. I mean, you viewers can tell us if the Teslas, if you had good experiences or bad experiences with Tesla.
Listen, I don't drive, so who knows? Who knows?
Ooh.
Oh my God. The car's like, have a nice day.
Yeah.
Goodbye. So there's a lot to unpack in this video. There's a guy going, woo, in the background. Ooh. And then there's that brown thing on the side of the road.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is. It looks like bricks or something, but I still think it's a place for cars to drive through.
Yeah, I have no idea what's happening. But what is absolutely clear is that this turn was doomed from the start.
Does this, like doing a crazy U-turn like this, get your adrenaline pumping or what?
It's hard to pump my adrenaline.
All right.
It does move me in some way.
I mean, I think that's why these videos are so popular, because people watching these things get your adrenaline pumping a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know about me. I don't like go and do U-turns for fun to get my energy going. But so right here, I'm seeing a straight and a right arrow on that brown lane. So that is telling me that it is a drive-through lane.
You have a very good eye, Mike. It does.
What can I say?
He's so modest.
Yeah.
Have you noticed this? So the hot verdict on this one, ladies.
On this one is that the car making the U-turn should have been looking at the oncoming traffic and clearly did not give itself enough time to make that U-turn properly without endangering other drivers. Therefore,
it would make that U-turning car liable.
Liable.
For all the damages.
For all the damages.
That happened next.
That happened next. Right. I'm starting to learn how to do this.
What is happening? What in the world? Oh my God, I hope everyone's okay.
Let's talk about what you think was going through this driver's head. I think it was, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit! But
I agree with you. Why on earth did it slide? I see the brake lights are engaged.
I mean, it looks like it's snow.
Weather.
Slick roads.
You bring up an interesting point when you talk about weather conditions, because we know that there's this concept in the law called an act of God. And essentially what an act of God says is that anytime there is this force of nature that causes damages that could not be prevented, and those damages, again, were caused by nature itself, then it's an act of God, meaning that nobody is liable. Everyone has to walk away paying for their own damages to their own vehicle. So, Mike, what do you think? Do you think that this was an act of God?
No, I mean, the example that you're saying there is someone struck by lightning or a tidal wave comes and destroys a house or something like that. What we're looking at here is bad weather. When we're talking about bad weather, you're actually supposed to drive for the conditions that the road deem are appropriate. So this goes back to how a lot of people think, well, speed limit says 45 or 65, I can go that fast. Well, no, not when it's raining and it's snowing or some other condition is out. Then you need to drive at what is reasonable.
You make the conscious choice to go out in bad weather. You can't blame this on God anymore. It is still your decision to drive in bad weather, and therefore you will be held liable if you cannot maintain control of your vehicle in that bad weather.
It seems to appear here that the speed of this bus compared to all the other cars on all sides of the road is much, much faster.
Absolutely.
And I do believe the weather conditions are taking effect here. You can see snow all around. It does look like this bus is slamming on its brakes, yet gliding. So that is because of the conditions of the road. But at the end of the day, like you said, it is the bus driver's decision to be driving too fast there, and is therefore the bus driver's fault for crashing into these stopped cars.
Mike has done it again. You're right.
There we go.
I agree.
Hot verdict. Let's just call it Mike is right again. I like it.
I vetoed that decision. I have been in a multi-vehicle collision before. I was at a red light. This is when I was 16 years old, so fresh out of the gate with my driver's license. I was at a red light listening to Hoobastank. True story.
Why?
I love Hoobastank.
Did you get knocked down? Would I get up again?
Is that Hoobastank?
No, it's not. That's
Maybe Mike is not right all the time.
clearly not with musical choices.
I wasn't even moving. I was stopped.
Did you wear suits like this at 16?
I was always a dapper child. All of a sudden, I hear screeching and split second, I look up in my rearview mirror. There was a car behind me, but behind that car was this big SUV, plows into the car behind me, and plows into me. Keep in mind, the car behind me, they had gotten their car the day before, fresh out of the lot.
That's terrible.
And their car was totaled.
Oof.
Totaled. Another reason why this has impacted me, this is gonna sound really weird, but this is the first time I'd actually ever met like a gay male couple in my entire life. I grew up in a small little town and I was a super conservative family. And all of a sudden this couple gets out of the car and the first thing they did was check on me because I was not well. They were fine. I was fine physically, but mentally I was like, oh my God, it was my first accident.
You're rattled.
I was rattled. I was razzle-dazzled. And then the SUV is trying to drive away, trying so hard, the SUV that caused the accident.
Really? Trying to hit and run.
Trying hard with everything they could. But they had damaged an axle, so they got to a block and a half.
Gosh.
And they were done.
Wow. Were you injured or anything?
Fortunately, I hit my head, but it was no major injuries. So I had whiplash, or maybe that's why I messed up today. Who knows?
I think you're just fine. Don't beat yourself up.
Oh, thank you. Mike is right again.
The bus, in my opinion here, would be liable for the damage to the back of this last car and potentially any additional damage if you were able to figure it out that happened to the cars in front of it. That is probably where you're going to need to get lawyers and experts involved to determine who's more at fault there. It's not the bus is liable for the entire accident. It's actually each car probably has some liability. So we have 3 cars before we even have the bus that hits the last car. And then there's a silver car here to the right.
I have a thing that I do whenever I analyze these car accident videos. I call it 1 bump, 2 bump. 2 bumps means, I'm just talking about the rear. We're not talking about the front of the car. 2 bumps means that you were hit.
Right.
And then
Another
car
hit
the car that just hit you. 2 bumps, bam, bam. When there are 2 bumps, it means that the car behind you was traveling too close, hit you, and then that car that hit you was then hit.
Right.
2 bumps.
But you as a car in front can sue both those drivers.
Always sue everyone.
Famous lawyer's words right there.
It's true though. It's terrible, but the reason why is because you never want to miss somebody, right?
Yeah.
You never want to sue somebody, and then while you've sued, you've discovered through discovery that someone else is liable, right? Because then there goes your case.
And then if people turn out not to be at fault, you can let them go. But most lawyers will tell you that everyone involved in the accident would be sued here. And then as the lawsuit continues, you'll figure out who is really the person at fault.
Right.
But I think that's interesting what you're saying about the 1 bump and 2 bump. And because if you do feel 2 bumps, the driver behind you was tailgating you or going too close.
Exactly.
So they're at fault at some level, and then the driver behind them as well. Each car that's in front of the other car gets to sue the car behind basically.
Them. Absolutely. But if it's a 1 bump situation, which usually will happen if the cars are stopped, and I think that's what happened here. It's really hard to tell in the beginning of the video. But if the cars were stopped at a red light and they were not moving, it's going to be a 1 bump situation. It's going to be that big bus hitting a car, so that's 1 bump, pushing the car into another car, it's a 1 bump, and that car is pushed into another car, again, 1 bump, and that car is pushed into this vehicle, which now curves to the right and hits the silver vehicle again, 1 bump. If it's all a 1 bump situation, it's going to be that bus that's going to be liable to all of them for basically pushing everyone into each other.
I'm leaning more towards that these cars were not in a pileup beforehand, and it was the bus that just rammed in and created all of them.
That's what I'm
thinking. Then the very front car went to the right into the silver car. If that was all caused by the bus, I would put the liability fully on the bus.
He's done it again, folks. I agree it just no way to know definitively. We weren't there. We don't have witnesses reports. We don't have a police report, et cetera, but just based on this video, seeing that it is a red light, the way that they all seem to be in a single file line before this, it does appear that the bus pushed all the cars, causing the collision, which would make
The bus liable
for all the damages.
that it caused.
Of course.
Today's lesson, if you were to sum it up in one way, what would you say?
Never let Mike co-star with you on a show. He will take all of the spotlight.
That's such a lie. So, thank you all for coming here.
Leave a comment if any of these situations has ever resonated with you in any way, or if you've learned anything from these videos.
Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
And if you don't, we'll be forced to take legal action.
My favorite.